How are you?
Hi, Julie.
Welcome to Old Nerd in the Gym.
It's been a while.
It has been.
Yeah, we're back at the DATV studios in downtown Dayton.
I'm remembering which buttons to push to make things do things.
It's not our stuff, so it makes it a little bit weird. And our guest today is Hans Marlette from, and I said that right?
You did.
Okay. I have you write it in the thing so I know I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
I said you must be half German and half French.
Actually, that's almost true. It's mostly German.
Well, your name says half German and half
French. I always been asked, how did that happen? And all I can say is part of my relatives came from Canada.
There we go.
You know what a Canadian is, right?
No, I don't.
It's an unarmed North American with health insurance. And we've got it off to a great start. Hans is with the Day of Caring 365 Foundation here in Dayton, and we're going to get into what all that is about in just a minute and hear a little bit more about you. Welcome back to Old Nerd. We're kind of starting out a new system here, so we're going to do 30-minute bits instead of an hour, so you can chop these up a little bit more.
Yes.
And
we've decided people have a shorter attention
people have a life
than we
and no attention, and we lost our attention span, so we're trying to make sure people listen to it. But I have a better.
You know what I always say? I'm too poor to pay attention.
Too poor to pay attention. Well, you need to get a different job because this one doesn't pay very well. This is terrible jokes. I got one for you though.
Okay.
If you want. Yeah, this is great for me because there's a backstory behind this. But this is great for me. I used to think that alcohol was bad for my health.
Yeah. Then what?
I stopped thinking. That seemed to make it work better.
So I quit drinking every day when I go to bed, and then start again the next day.
Start again the next day. I quit drinking every single day. These are terrible, so I'm going to not do any more of these. Well, wait a minute. There was one more. I'll give you one
Isn't there
more.
a country song called I Quit Drinking or I Quit Thinking?
No, but this sounds like it could be a country song. You ready? A health forum speaker asked, which food causes extreme suffering for years after you eat it? And after a long silence, an old man answered... No. An old man answered, a wedding cake.
Oh.
And we're done with
harsh.
those. I've pushed the button. It's gone now. Yeah. That's probably a good thing. So,
Make it stop.
So at the first part of our discussion here, we typically want to talk a little bit about our guest and hear a bit about your backstory, how you got here. So Hans, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I took 35 West and... Oh, not that?
Not the directional. How you personally got to where you are today. So give us the Reader's Digest edition.
Okay. I am originally from Minnesota. My parents were farmers. I was fortunate to be the first one in my family to go to college and graduate. Got a degree in music education and taught school for a while. And then after a year or so of doing that, I entered the Air Force. And I did that for the next 31 years. Served our country, going all around the world playing. My background is in music. And so I was assigned to 5 different bands throughout my career in the Air Force. And from there,
I like that military job.
Yeah.
It was
play music instead of holding a rifle. I like that idea.
It was really great. But in the early years, we worked with recruiting squadrons, and we would work with the recruiters. We would go into areas where they perhaps were having difficulty recruiting people, and we would do concerts in those areas to help bolster their recruiting quotas.
So the music would kind of draw folks in, and
initially
is that the Pied Piper approach to military strategy?
It was initially we would go out and we would play community type relations concerts, and we would go into schools. But we realized later on, and it happened in the 80s, that we decided to target our audiences better. It didn't work very well for a concert band to go in and play for an elementary school.
Yeah, they didn't get it.
And they didn't get it.
But the nice thing was you were exposing them to military people. If they
Sure.
were, that was a good thing.
And the thing about it is in many respects, we were the face of the Air Force. We went out there and we represented the Air Force every time that we went out and performed in the public. But we also were influencers. It could be also as far as negotiations and, when we were looking like national negotiations. But it was more like influencers, like when we would go out and we would play community concerts for people that are middle-aged, let's say. They were not recruitable or in terms of the age-wise, but they had children or grandchildren that they might be able to influence. Say, you might want to think about joining the military, and this is a great way of life. You can learn your craft. You get great benefits in terms of your medical care and education benefits. It's not a bad way to go. It's certainly not for everyone, but
and free travel.
That too, free travel. But we just learned how to target our audiences, and so we have a variety of different groups within our band. We had concert bands, we had jazz bands, we had brass and woodwind quintets, rock bands, country bands.
So what was your instrument?
I'm a tuba player, and I still am. When I retired after 31 years, I was recruited to go into the investment industry, and I did that for about 5 years, and it was through that I became acquainted with Day of Caring 365 Foundation. Initially, I was brought on as a consultant to help with doing grant writing, also to expand our footprint in the counties surrounding the Dayton area.
So when was that exactly?
2005.
Okay, so you've been in it a little under 20 years.
18 years.
And now you are the president of the board, right?
I'm the executive director.
Executive director, okay.
Jan Vinkai is the founder and president of the board.
Okay, and so tell us a little bit about what the organization does, and we're gonna spin that around into why you're here today.
Okay, Day of Caring initially was founded to create awareness towards hunger and homelessness within our local communities through volunteerism. Volunteerism was really the big piece of that, and initially. It's kind of morphed these days into fundraising, but the idea was to bring people together and to look how we could strengthen our communities, to look around and beyond ourselves and look to see what our neighbor may need. I often told people in our early briefings that Day of Caring helped define who our neighbor was. We often ask that, and really when we think about it, it's anyone that we have the capacity to help. That's our neighbor.
That helped you determine their needs too, right?
Sure.
Because you got to know who they were and what neighborhoods and what areas of the Dayton market that they were in.
Yep. And the big thing about it is that the vehicle for us for helping people, that was the idea, creating a way of bringing people together, and that really is the beauty of it. When we think about what we do, is that we have hundreds of volunteers that come together each year. The last Sunday in February, we have what we call host sites. They're typically churches, but it's not exclusive churches. There could be businesses. We've been in universities, even Hospice of Dayton. We've held our brunch there. But the idea is to raise money by offering pancake brunches within our local community. And then what we do, the thing that we think makes us much different than other organizations, is that at the very end, 100% of the monies that are raised from our pancake brunches go back into the local communities, and we distribute those through what we call partner organization or partner agencies. We as an organization are what we call a non-direct service provider. We don't actually see the people or work with the people that
you help to raise the funds to provide so that the other agencies can do what their mission is.
I often think of it like when we think of a service provider. Let's use Vectron, for instance, that has kind of the umbrella, but they have different organizations that serve as the service provider to deliver.
They're sort of the parent providing the information.
They become the delivery mechanism for us. When we started this back in 1990, our very first pancake brunch, by the way, was in 1991. When we started, the idea was just to bring people together, and it was, the idea was not so much about the dollars raised. We understand that money is the enabler, is the thing that helps us to help people. But the idea was bringing people together. And I think, initially what we thought is if we could have enough footprint in terms of number of people, volunteers, that this would gain recognition to the social or society needs that we have in terms of homelessness and hunger within our local communities. And today, I'm afraid that, in those early years, the marketplace was very scant. We didn't have a lot of people like or organizations like ours out there that were doing this sort of work. Today, the marketplace is replete and full with people. And so we say the one thing that does make us different is that the idea that we give 100% of our monies back through these partnerships or distribution channels.
So the funds you raise are not going to somebody's salary. They're not going to maintaining some big organization.
Right.
So it's all internal and it's all community based.
It's all community based. And our reason for wanting to coordinate, and I'll name our partners, the Dayton Food Bank or Food Bank Incorporated. The other one was St. Vincent de Paul and Catholic Social Service were the original ones that we had. And we did that because we wanted to create this idea of sense of community, a community coming together to work to solve their own problems. And the thinking is that if we could get communities to look beyond self and basically take care of their own neighborhoods, then there would be less reliance on social programs or government involvement with that.
So it's kind of neighbors helping neighbors.
Neighbors helping neighbors. And the idea in this is we wanted to, I look at our organization in many respects as provides a beacon of hope for people. We're not the all-in-one place that you go to get help.
But I think that's better, though, because you're able to spread that out a little more, and then we can't do everything.
No
organization can do everything. So if you're able to help organizations not just fundraise, but you're helping to encourage the volunteer side of it, and we're working on with you trying to develop your volunteer side as well to grow all of those things.
Yeah.
So I think if you're able to do that, I think that's what makes the biggest difference. So I'm going to interject here a little bit.
Sure.
So the idea that you're raising funds to help these other organizations, everybody's in the local communities, the money stays here in the Dayton area. And is the Pancake Brunch the only fundraiser that you have at this point?
No, we have one other. Well, actually, we because of COVID, we have.
Well, that probably
we added another one, but in the first weekend of June, we do the Troy Strawberry Festival.
Okay.
We host a booth up there. We sell cannolis, strawberry cannolis.
Okay.
We've done that for several years
strawberry
now.
cannoli.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta ask, what's in a strawberry cannoli?
Nothing wrong with the strawberry cannoli. I would assume it's cannoli cream and
Yeah,
strawberries.
and strawberries, ricotta cheese is
Wow.
a part of that, and then I don't know what other secret ingredients they put in there, but it's
Cannoli cream
really
is
a
delicious.
it is.
I'll have to take your word for it.
It is a favorite.
Okay, so you've got the Strawberry Festival. There's a fundraiser there. Is there anything else?
Yes, in the fall we started during the COVID. We did a virtual wine tasting fundraiser at Brandywine Wineries north of Enon.
Okay.
And we are looking at doing that again this fall. And then we hope to, in the near future, in 2024, either next year or the year following, to do a gala where it would be more of a grand scale, where we would I think the template or the model I think of is like Athletes in Action, where they actually you buy tables, and then you bring in, people buy a seat at that. Then you bring in a well-recognized authority or a supporter of your particular mission to speak to your audience. But that's something that's in the offering, looking ahead.
If you're doing this for all the different organizations, and different organizations how do they connect with you? Do you reach out to them? Do they come to you and say, hey, we're trying to do this thing over here, can you help us fundraise? Or how does that work?
The way it started out initially is, first of all, our organization is built on kind of one-on-one relationships. The personal part of that, we find that those are more meaningful.
So the people within your group know of something and you bring them in that way.
Initially, when Jan Van Kaya started this, she actually reached out to the local clergy, and that's how the last Sunday in February came about. But what we typically do is we ask people, if they, particularly pastors, if we've done, for instance, we've done a pancake brunch at a location, we've gone back and as a follow-up and say, do you know another congregation or another church that you think would be a good fit for us? And we're very selective about all of this. I must say, one of the things about being a nonprofit that I personally am very sensitive to is the fact that our credibility, our name, and what we represent has to be.
You have to maintain that.
We always have to maintain the integrity. We have to be truthful, and it's an added measure to make sure that everything that we do is always is right. It's not that we don't make mistakes, but I mean, the idea is that a lot of people or a lot of organizations get in trouble when all of a sudden their monies go for other things than what is the initial purpose or what people expect. It's important for us that people can trust us and know that we follow through. We do what we say we're going to do.
So one of the big things to get to, one of the reasons that we wanted to have you on today was to be able to talk about Old Nerd is really focused on people staying healthy and especially with seniors, caregivers, anything like that, where they're not getting what they need a lot of times. Something that we learned about as I was getting into more of this is that the majority of caregivers live in poverty. There's 43 million of them, and 26% have no food, no job, no nothing, and they're caring for somebody. So there's a whole big thing with that. Do you find one of the things that's important about organizations like yours that support what I'm going to call the next step down, which is the people on the ground who are like providing like the food banks and all these sorts of things? What kind of difference does that make as far as who you choose as partners when it comes to, are you feeding people? Are you clothing them? How do you decide what the money goes to?
The First of all, we go back to our original mission statement, which, and that kind of is really the thing that we measure everything, or is our guiding light as far as who we give to or who we work with. We want to make sure that their ideals or what their role in the community supports our mission. Do they support people that are in need as far as hunger? Do they provide housing, emergency housing? So it's very important that those agencies that we work with, that their goals, their mission aligns with ours. And I was going to say, one of the things about what we do, as I found as I've grown in this job, the big thing is to become, get the facts about what's going on in your local community. One of the things that I learned doing this job, and I'll be very blunt, is that I used to see people panhandling out on the street, and I always thought to myself, why don't you just go out and get a job rather than do that? I couldn't imagine that. To come to find out that only 1 in 5 people actually make a conscious choice to do that.
Right.
There are a lot of reasons why they get out there. So part of, I think, our job is to educate people when we're out having conversations with them, where we're out representing our organization, to make sure that people get the facts. Don't have already
making assumptions.
Yeah. You want to help, but you don't want to enable.
So you can help by helping people understand if they want to. In my thinking is this: I know who your partners are. I've gotten to know you guys very well.
Yeah.
If I want my money to go somewhere, I'm probably going to give it to you rather than send it directly to the organization, because I don't know what's happening at that point.
Sure.
Well, and I like that it stays local, and it's
well, that's the important thing. People want to know that you're serving your local communities, that you're not sending it elsewhere. And I think that's certainly part of it. The other thing I wanted to say about you mentioned about the health part of that. In 2013, we started a pantry part of what was initially called simply Essential Pantry, and later on was renamed after our late pantry manager, Roberta Shivadecker, so it's Roberta's Pantry.
I'm glad you didn't use her last name. I'm not sure we can spell that.
Spell that, so.
But
it made the poster so much more expensive.
But when we do our annual pancake brunch, we always have what we call honorary co-chairs, and those are typically people usually in government, in the local area, like mayors, commissioners, and it was through Commissioner Debbie Lieberman that we learned that there was a sector within our community that didn't have access or to purchase hygiene products, and that's the people that are use EBT cards or in the SNAP program. You can't purchase
You
hygiene
can't buy
products.
some of those things.
So
yeah.
we realized this was a niche market for us to get into, and so we started a pantry to deliver personal hygiene items to those people, low-income families, individuals.
That's a good point that a lot of people don't realize that food stamps don't pay for diapers or toilet paper or paper towels.
And you know that probably the bigger thing is that we only hear about the food deserts. We don't hear about. I mean, we've got one place in town. It's the Gem City Market, right? That they've done a really nice job of making a nonprofit grocery store, and a place that doesn't have anything. In this kind of situation, we're talking about the other basic things that people don't have that lead to health problems, like basic dental hygiene, cleanliness, just all the stuff that can make you very sick.
You think about that. I mean, like if you don't have food, obviously, or the hygiene aspect, specifically, if you don't practice good hygiene, then things like dental can be a problem.
And poor dental health can lead to
other
physical
things.
problems too.
And
People
then there's
don't
an
realize.
emotional component about this too. If you're looking for people to wanting to better themselves and re-enter into the workforce, you've got problems with self-esteem.
Difficult,
that could be in school where people say, and kids can be,
kids are terrible.
They can be cruel and talk about people
you
sticking.
definitely don't want to have a child that has cleanliness issues because that's going to be something that people will pick on them for.
But and I didn't realize this.
Well, they
initially.
can't advance.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't realize this initially, but I mean, when you think about it, reintegrating, getting back in the job force, self-esteem, you have to have all those things in place as far as your personal hygiene. There are other organizations out there that provide education for how to get back into the workforce and clothing.
And you're going to put all that stuff off in favor of food.
Yeah.
You're going to put all of it off. Yeah. The thing is, first order of business is survival. You got to eat first. You worry about what your hair's combed like later.
And that was the thing as far as like with our mission, when you think about hunger and food, those are basic needs or survival needs that we have to have. And I mean, when you think about for people living out on the street, what do you think is the average, the age life expectancy for some living out on the street?
My guess is about 5 years.
Perhaps I'm thinking more of in general of age, like
He means like
like how old are they?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Probably not beyond much about 60, 65.
55.
Wow.
55.
You'd be dead.
I would be done. Yes.
So I mean, and
I'm pretty resourceful.
Can't imagine can't imagine what it would be like to live in that. But I worked with an organization called Daybreak, and they they meet every year, or at least they organized this one out on Courthouse Square, and they had like a speaker there and they talked about.
And Daybreak is a homeless shelter, right?
It's actually,
they do a number of things.
It's mainly for kids. They provide a safe environment for kids to get them off the street.
Right.
Plus, also there's an educational component to that, and then there's also a possibility of work. I have read, numerous people that have come back going through their program that now work for Daybreak. It's a great organization.
I'd like to ask what from you would really stick with somebody listening to this right now, and just to make them go, oh, wait, I should probably look into that. What would you tell them?
I think about like our organization, we truly, there's an old saying, people will never care about how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
We truly care and take an interest in the community that we live in. We look at our longevity. We've been here for we've been in business for 33 years. We'll be going on 34, and I think we've remained true to our mission throughout those years. We're looking, how can we maximize our impact? And for instance, a lot of people think, they look at the fundraising part of that, and they say, well, you give dollars to, this agency here. Why don't we just do that directly? The idea is again, it goes beyond more about dollars, because when we go out and we go to a church, for instance, And we have people come in there to attend our breakfast. That serves the purpose of maybe an outreach for the church itself, but it also those people that come to our breakfasts are potential donors. They're potential sites for us. They're potential sponsors for us. So as we're looking for things that could help us, and why you would choose us over any other organization, I just think that we are a small organization that doesn't do everything, but what we do very well. We are very committed to our organization. You look at our members that have been with us. We have churches that have been with us from the very beginning. So I think that says something about our organization. Most of our members have been with us for over 10. Some the full. We have 2 trustees have been the full 33 years. Myself, 18.
And people can still talk to you about volunteering.
Yes.
For certain. Absolutely. Yes. And we'll have all that information
Yep.
At the end. It'll be on the website with
Yes.
with all this. So we'll have that there for the contact.
Do you think there's one misconception about the community that you serve that you could allay for people?
One of the big things today that you'll hear in the media is mental health, and that really is a problem. And the thing about some people that are in that situation were born into that. There is a certain number of people that are of our population that we are, say, generationally dependent.
It's a legacy problem.
That's the only thing that they've known.
Cycle of poverty is all they've had.
But the thing that I would say about that, at least I've learned, is that you don't have to. I mean, there are programs, there are things out there, opportunities for you to bring yourself or help yourself out of that. Drug addiction is another thing, and then there are people that have gotten on the wrong side of the law. And the problem is once you get there, it is very difficult to reintegrate because people,
they shut you down.
Shut you down. What do you think is probably the main thing that prevents people from hiring people that, let's say, have had problems?
They think they're going to do it again.
They're afraid.
So trust is a big part of it, and then reliability. That's the thing, and that's the hurdle that a lot of people have to overcome. Our understanding of that, if we look down on people, they're not looking for our sympathy. They're looking for empathy, and they want us to,
give them a leg up.
Give them a leg up.
A lot of people want to learn skills, but they don't know where to find those resources.
Right.
So
well, they're not in. Once
systems where you can get help.
And one of the bad things about our digital world is that somebody who's homeless has not got an iPhone in their pocket.
No.
They don't know where to go. We don't have billboards as much anymore. We don't have flyers. We don't have
Google shelters if you don't have a phone.
Yeah, and they don't I don't think a lot of agencies do a good job of remembering who it is they need to speak to.
Right.
And sometimes it's not the person who's at disadvantage in the first place. It's the person they know. It's the family member of them. It's I talk about it on our show a lot of times. I talk about the fact that a lot of the senior citizen organizations that are out there to help them are marketing to the wrong people.
Right.
You can't market to the senior. You got to market to me, the son, or the caregiver, or whoever that is. And it's a similar kind of a problem. How do you get that information to them if you don't have the outreach?
I may be at home watching TV and I have a cousin or a friend that I know is on the street, and that's the person that I want to help. I'm going to be the one to see it.
I'm going to put it. I don't have any data for this, but I'm going to put it out there that probably we all know somebody just 1 or 2 steps away from us who is either in that position or is close to being in that position.
That's what I was going to say. One thing that COVID did show people is that a couple weeks without working
does damage. A lot of damage.
And so many of us are only 1 or 2 paychecks away from being in real trouble.
Yeah, and that's where you guys really come into play. I think helping these other organizations do what they need to do.
And I hope that people will join us. Go out to our webpage and get more information about us. We are certainly going to universities. We are looking to expand our volunteer pool.
And you can find information on your website, which is dayofcaring.us.
Yes.
And is there a phone number?
There's 2 other ways you can reach us. You can email us at dayofcaring, numeric 20 @gmail.com, or you can phone us, reach us by telephone at 937-931-2850.
And we'll put all that on the website with the story. So we'll have a small story to go with this, and on some video clips of it, and the whole podcast will be available on our podcast page. Thank you again, and we'll be sending information your way, and hopefully folks can reach out and get some help.
Get up and get out there.
Thank you. We'll see you guys next time.